The Last Legion, with a dramatic sounding name and an awesome title poster, is a bold attempt to tell the origin story of the legendary King Arthur by Geoffrey of Monmouth through the fall of Rome combined with the legend of the Lost Legion within Caledonia. Now, would you call this a Rome story or a King Arthur story? I'd call it a stupid story. The problem is this story is inherently hard to make. Merging historical events with legends is a hard task that few writers can do, so I think that the movie was just destined to suck. But why? Why does it suck? Well, watch this. Yeah, you're very aware that you're watching a movie when you see that. For those who've never watched the movie, don't bother. But basically, this guy is Romulus Augustus, the last emperor of Western Rome. This guy is his bodyguard. When Rome falls, he has to break him out of prison from the island fort of Capri and then find a safe place to take him. And what better than the stupidest you could go, Hadrian's Wall. Anyway, after a battle that doesn't matter with a legion of soldiers you don't care about and a magic sword showing up for some reason, Romulus saved his guard's life by telling him not to die. The magic sword is Excalibur. Romulus becomes Uther Pendragon, and little Arthur is running around with great value Gandalf. Now, before someone tells me that the book was better or some non-argument like that, sure. I didn't read it, chances are you didn't either, but I'll grant that the book was better. Fine. I'm just talking about the movie. If you're going to tell the story of Romulus Augustus and try to dramatize it a little bit, sure, go ahead, tell that story. If you want to make a realistic fantasy King Arthur origin story, sure, tell that story. If you want to make up your own story about the final stand of the last organized Roman legion, that sounds awesome, make that story, but make it a story that feels real, like it could have happened. This story is just a tossed salad of all of it, and it just sucks, because you can't follow the rules of multiple movie formats at the same time. For example, the movie bounces back and forth from magic, no magic. There is not a single movie guilty of this that manages to be good. Looking at you, Dwayne. Magic Man does magic, it's just a sleight of hand trick. Magic Man throws fire, nope, catapult. So magic isn't real, okay. But then, magic swords smash bed and stick itself in rock, so there is magic. It walks a tightrope between a fantastical legend story and a could have happened historical story that just can't exist. There's also hardly any Christian imagery in the movie. All you really get is a cross on the top of Romulus's crown. Aurelius's character, the bodyguard, is based on a character who is based on a man, I'll explain, who is almost certainly a Christian and even credited the Christian God with all of his success in war. Rome was dominated by Christianity at the time, and there's no mention of it in the movie. Okay, now that I'm done venting, let's talk about the characters. Anyway, the characters chosen to tell the story through are exactly what your 9-year-old cousin and his friends from T-Ball would use to play Dungeons & Dragons. Think about it. Main guy / leader, guy who can't fight but is part of the group for some other reason, magic man, big dude, a woman who's one of the best fighters for no reason than to just keep the feminists from complaining, and the one that's just happy to be here. A lot of fantasy movies and stories do the exact same thing. And if you do that with a historical, this could have happened kind of thing, it takes the viewer right out of it.
You fought like a dragon.
But you fought like the son of a dragon.
Only 2.5 characters in the movie are actually historically confirmed figures. Romulus Augustus, the last emperor of Western Rome, and Odoacer, the Goth general that overthrew him. Aurelius is based on a King Arthur figure, Aurelius Ambrosianus, uncle of King Arthur, which is based on a real figure, the Romano-British war hero, Ambrosius Aurelianus. 3 other characters in the movie may not be based on confirmable history, but they are from the King Arthur legend. Ambrosianus, who is actually Merlin the wizard, but not really a wizard, Vortigern, bad wizard, and of course Little Arthur himself with 2.5 seconds of screen time. Now it is true that the first legends of King Arthur came from Roman war leaders that repelled Saxon invasions, especially during the Roman withdrawal of Britannia. Artorius, meaning warrior king, is the Latin name that became Arthur through the civil wars for control of Britannia after Rome withdrew. As historians can't pinpoint a single figure as Arthur, it's most likely that there were several leaders that all contributed to the historical actions that became the legend of Artorius, with many more written later as literature and compiled together as the legend of King Arthur. The actual origins of King Arthur and his father Uther Pendragon depend on the story that you read, but I'm going to go off the original. The issue that the movie runs into in making Romulus Augustus into Uther Pendragon is that the timelines just don't sync up at all, and the way that they tell a story is just dumb. Romulus is apparently a descendant of Julius Caesar, which no, he wasn't. The last emperor of Rome to actually be a Caesar was Nero, who died 400 years before Romulus came to figurehead power for 10 months in 475 AD.
I am Caesar.
Wrong answer. Take him away, cut his throat.
Little fact, Julius Nepos, the emperor before Romulus, still claimed power during Romulus' time on the throne while he was in exile, and was even recognized as emperor by the Eastern Roman Empire. So the claim that Romulus was the last ruler of Western Rome is a little bit contested, since both East and West needed to agree on who the ruler of the other was. In Monmouth's original story, Arthur is already king of all of Britain before Rome falls anyway, because he has to negotiate with them over territory that he conquers on the other side of the English Channel in Gaul. So if the movie wants to stay true to the legend, there just isn't any way for Romulus to beat Uther Pendragon, because Uther became king of Britain in the chaos of Rome's withdrawal from the Isles some 50, 60 years at least, before Rome was sacked and taken over by Odoacer. And then, there's also the last hope for the protagonist in the 9th Legion, still on duty by Hadrian's Wall. Except, hang on, the 9th Legion, or the Lost Legion, went missing north of the Wall in 108 AD. So according to this movie, this guy is going to take Emperor Cocomelon from Rome through the Alps, English Channel, and then almost to Scotland, all the while being followed by this guy to find some soldiers that have been camping out for 350 years? Yeah, okay. Rome didn't even have any military presence in Britannia in 476. It hardly had anyone in Gaul. All organized Roman military was gone from the Isles by 410 to protect the Roman homelands anyway, so there's no historical reason as to why the emperor would even think about going there. Romulus never even left Italy as far as we know. He didn't go into captivity at the island fort of Capri either. Odoacer just sent him away to exile in the Ovo castle in Naples, and we have no evidence that he ever left it. It was pretty obvious that Romulus was just a figurehead. He had no real power to use or claim against Odoacer, so he didn't really bother with him. He just claimed kingship over Italy, found the backing of his kingship from the Eastern Empire, and then left the rest of the provinces to their own devices. The latest date that we have to suspect that Romulus lived to was 511. And there aren't really any reliable sources to tell us what Romulus was up to in that time, but establishing a kingdom in England and having a son named Arthur probably wasn't it.
No more war!
Anyway, this video was a mess. Okay, Fall of Rome. People compare it to stuff happening today all the time, Rome and the Nazis. But from what I've seen, people don't really seem to know anything about it, so let's talk. Did you see this terrible movie, or do you still have those 2 hours of your life left?